Good morning, everybody, and thanks for being here on time. Actually, 9 o'clock makes a lot more sense in Bombay because you probably do the fastest commute to any direction there. And normally we do start at 10 o'clock, but Sanjeev actually insisted that we start a little early. And I think it's worked out well, and I'm really energized to see the whole room fully packed there. Our guest of honor, Mr. Sanjeev Mehta, Chairman, Managing Director, Hindustan Unilever Limited, esteemed speakers, my comrades in arms, Rajesh already spoke about, Rajesh Prince, the member of the core group. Most of them are there, but some of them are not there. They will be joining through the day. My colleagues from the CII National Committee for Leadership in HR and Business, HR fraternity from various industries, diverse companies which is present here, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of CII National Committee on Leadership in HR, and on my personal behalf, may I extend my very own hearty welcome to all of you for the 9th edition of the CII HR Conclave. This, in fact, is the biggest of the 9, understandably. The more and more people are getting engaged. We've got the highest number of registrations, we've got the highest number of entries, and we have got some really exciting concepts debuting in this HR Conclave over the next 2 days. I would especially like to welcome Mr. Mehta, Mr. Sanjeev Mehta, Chairman, Managing Director of HUL. It's a privilege and honor to have such an accomplished leader like Mr. Mehta, who brings a unique combination of global and domestic perspectives, with his rich experiences derived from executing roles with aplomb across different geographies around the world. He's worked in many countries and many assignments there. He is deservedly the Economic Times Business Leader of the Year, 2019. And under his guardianship, HUL has moved now pretty conclusively into a higher orbit in a more sustainable and inclusive manner. Thank you, Mr. Mehta, for making it to the conclave. I also extend a hearty welcome to all the speakers, sponsors, members of the media to this conference who have traveled from different parts of the country to be amongst us. Just for information, the CII Committee on Leadership in HR consists of a group of very energetic CHROs who are focused on developing and executing interventions for capability in bringing human resources for transformation, innovation, and accelerating growth in the organizations. This is a group of relentlessly working individuals coming together as a team, driving HR as a critical business agenda. I think Rajesh did allude to the importance of how HR needs to be fully integrated with the business rather than being just an advisory now, and really enabling businesses to the next league of growth. There is another award which happens, most of you are aware, the CII National HR Excellence Award, which is run by the committee, is regarded in the industry as the most rigorous HR assessment process. In fact, it doesn't end with an award. Over the years, this process, which certifies various organizations across the industry on HR practices, has contributed to significant improvements in human resources, performance practices, the matrix to measure, and capabilities. And it's virtually becoming like a movement. So any one of you whose organization is not really engaged with this, I would urge, please participate in this. If nothing, it's a great learning because some of the best HR professionals will come, certify your processes, and go on after recommending what it takes for an organization to be benchmarked with none other than the best in the world. Turning to the theme of the conclave, the Indian economy, as we know, over the last 2 to 3 decades has come a full circle. It's changed completely from being a nearly protected kind of a regulated kind of an economy to a liberated economy, and thereby unleashing phenomenal level of enterprise that you and I are experiencing today. On the other hand, the world has turned a full circle too. About 2 to 3 decades from a liberal, open kind of a world, it's becoming protectionist. So it's in a way, it's quite strange, the kind of duality that we are going through. As India is opening up, world is becoming more and more protectionist. And this is actually fueled also by the constant changes in technology, which are leading to disruptions across the countries and across and business models. The rate of change that we are seeing, we've never seen before. It's not just the rate, even the nature of the change that we are seeing is absolutely unique to us, and we have to learn every day to cope up with those changes. The global headwinds, the digital revolution are together causing an unprecedented flexibility, proactivism that all of us need, product and in-process innovation that today is of a completely different paradigm as a central focal points in all our organizations. These upheavals are challenging the status quo and creating enormous complications arising out of this. To top it all, Industry 4.0 is embracing all of us. And as the fourth industrial revolution gathers momentum, we are moving very rapidly towards an exponential change. And there is going to be a pretty deep dive today on some of the Industry 4.0. Immediately after this session, we get into that. And just want to mention here that thinkers like Mark Prensky have pointed out that our education was designed at a time what we knew with some confidence what is best for our kids, but now we don't. This is the important point I make here. That's because the world is changing so rapidly that their world will bear scant resemblance to our world. The planet and society may change more in this century, the next 100 years, than all of it has done in the human history. So we need to prepare this generation for where the world is headed rather than where we are. For instance, much of the education beyond literacy and numeracy is about ingesting content, and all of us experience and talk about it today. That made a lot of sense historically, but as Ray Kurzweil says, a 10-year-old walking down the street can now access the entire human knowledge. Our kids are living in a world where all the old stuff is online and all the new stuff is being invented. So this is a critical aspect to really understand. Do we really need to impart knowledge, or do we need to impart wisdom? And how are we preparing the younger generation to really cope up with a world where every day the new things are being discovered, and yesterday is becoming irrelevant faster than we've ever seen. Given this scenario, the leadership of organizations are now looking to HR function, to the entire fraternity sitting here, to help with the change management requirements. The demand on HR function is to align with businesses as a strategic partner by understanding, appreciating, and leveraging technology to its advantage and creating necessary interventions for transformations in this phenomenally changing world that we live today. And as I look around, I do find HR leadership uniformly is confronted, grappling at times with the challenges of shepherding and revolutionizing organizational process at an enormous speed. This change is accentuated with the advent of automation, machine learning, robotics, artificial intelligence, and IoT, whereby a very different and new world of work is emerging with the rise of technology-led agile and open talent economy, including the emergence of what is called a gig economy. I returned from Japan just last evening, and I visited Tokyo University day before yesterday, and I just want to mention as to where technology could totally change the face of this planet, including in my industry, which is to do with clothing and fashion and lifestyle. And they're working on a technology which was demonstrated to us with fair degree of accuracy, where a human body can get measured in 2 seconds by just a click of a picture on an iPhone. And then that really obviates the need for you to go to retail to get measured. It obviates the whole need and relevance of sizing of garments in this world. So all these 42 shirts, 40 shirts, 38 shirts will go away. Each one of you can have your own size without the need of. Now, what happens to employment? What happens to tailors? What happens to the entire industry, which is really engaged with trying to size up the planet to make garments? Because virtually everything could really vanish in no time. Some of these changes we'll have to grapple with and see how do we really take it forward. Any transformation initiative has necessarily 3 aspects. The first one is, of course, strategic. The second is to drive the transformation in an integrated manner across the organization, which needs a multi-pronged action both in people and technology fronts. And third is to sustaining that change for long-term results. Today, the ask on HR fraternity sitting here is to strategize these processes with the top leadership, navigate and steer through the digital boundaries, turbulence, catalyze this digital readiness in the organization, and to be on the top of technology for talent harnessing and transformation. The role of HR has moved away already, and I think we are in a catch-up mode, away from being a transactional role or a super advisory role to a real enabler role of transformation now. So unless you find yourself enabling an organization for change, I think we're already becoming very rapidly relevant. And that's a great opportunity for each of the HR fraternity sitting here there. The most important thrust or the essence of the conclave is talent, technology, and transformation. In that context, it's how does HR cope with this tech-disrupted, fast-changing environment on one hand, and leverage the same on the other hand in building the future with all the stakeholders. Just want to read a small statistic, and it's not about statistics, but just the message within those statistics there. There are 374 million Indians between 10 to 24 years of age today. They constitute a fifth of global population. So 1 in 5 younger people between 10 and 24 are from India. They, of course, represent an extraordinary talent today and an ambition, but face extraordinary challenges too. The facts are very grim. Half of these youngsters drop before class 10. Nearly 1 million of them turning 18 every year, and they start looking for employment. 1 million people coming for employment every year, 12 million a year. However, the jobs are scarce because the employment growth is half that of the population growth. It's about 0.7, 0.8%. Unemployment is much higher in 15 to 29 years than those with people over 30%, over 30 years of age. So understand, younger people are twice as most unemployed than the elder people there. Only half of the working age population is working or seeking employment, and this number is much lower in women. Paradoxically, a higher educated youth is 6 times more likely to be unemployed today than an uneducated one. So if you have an engineering degree, a post-graduation degree, a skill degree, you're likely to be 6 times more unemployed in India than an uneducated one there. That's the kind of challenge that we're feeling. That's the kind of paradox that we are facing today. And then this just tells about some of the skilling, some of the HR, some of the education practices that we really have. The massive pool of talent, which our Prime Minister very proudly says is our demographic dividend, is of course the biggest resource, but creating good outlets for their capability and aspirations is one of the biggest challenges facing the community sitting here today. This Hindustan Times reporter had done some research, and Snigdha Poonam, in fact, she had said, this is the most desperate generation of Indians since independence, the current generation youngsters. 86% of them feel anxious about their future, but it's also one of the most bent on world domination. They will redefine work, success, morality, change our world in the ways we yet can't imagine. So this is what is very, very critical to understand by this fraternity, and how do we really make them more capable. We couldn't have had a better person, a better professional, a better accomplished professional than Mr. Mehta to deliver the keynote address. The keynote address is titled The Changing Organization in a Disruptive World and the Challenges for Leadership in HR. Given the manifested dimensions of Mr. Mehta in leading and maintaining HUL's top rank in the corporate world, and in fact within HUL it's a jewel, Indian business has always been treated as one of the top businesses leading the global organization now under Mr. Mehta's stewardship. We are very keenly looking forward, Mr. Mehta, to your address. And I would just put about 4 specific probes there that we seek an answer to. What would be your outlook on the emerging shape of things to come in the world of business, and how do you envision the workplace of tomorrow? So it's all about the workplace of tomorrow. I think Mr. Mehta will address parts of that. How do you drive and sustain this transformation in an integrated manner across Hindustan Unilever, which needs a multi-pronged action on both people and technology? Understandably, an organization which is multi-generational, multi-country, multi-product categories. So how does this whole thing come together? A major interest of, I think, the audience, personally for me also, is how do you help in handling the paradox of continually confronting the HR function and striking the balance between tech and human touch. And this is what Rajesh said, today is going to be about tech in HR Conclave, tomorrow is going to be about the touch part. And how does really Hindustan Unilever really deal with that? And how would you envision the HR function to evolve over time? What will be your expectation from HR function in building the future from today? The CII HR Conclave has traditionally been the harbinger to bring forth all the great ideas that collectively come from your fraternity and socializing the emerging trends, new thoughts, issues of importance in the field, and enabling a wider discussion by the CII fraternity here. The conclave has very important component included for the first time, and before I conclude, I just want to talk about one line on Genesis, and you will see some youngsters really coming in the evening talking about it. We have introduced a concept called Genesis. It's really a white paper contest on ideas today for workplace of tomorrow, and that was with an objective to include young voices within the organizations, within the HR fraternity, within the academia, pedagogy, advisory partners, top consultants, really getting the whole fraternity to come together and really ideate on the workplace of tomorrow. I'll be failing in my duty, and that you will see more about Genesis through the day. I'll be failing in my duty if I do not emphasize at this stage that this conclave has come up today with a sheer grit and diligent work by the most energetic core group of the HR committee led by Rajesh, Wellspun Group, and Dr. Prince. Both are the chairs of this conclave, and I want to profusely thank both of them and the entire core team which has worked on this. Of course, Indrani, the guiding force, a constant in CII for many years. Really, she's the beacon of CII, and we all really rally around Indrani and the entire CII Secretariat team. So thank you, Indrani, and the whole CII Secretariat team.